Okay, my name is Dr. Chadha. I'm born in India and I'm based in Dubai in UAE. I'm also a professor of photojournalism. I've had photography experience for 32 years. I've traveled around the world. I've been to 95 countries and 230 cities, photographing them. But one of the most common things that I found common among the variation in all these countries was work. Even though work is the common factor and the common thread that connects people together, I found variance. So what is the color of work? How do you define work? How do you say that this is the right work or this is the wrong work? Is it laid down in a book? Is it laid down in quantified by the amount of money that comes out of a person's work? Is it out of the satisfaction that he gets by doing his work? Is it because of the passion that he creates that's related with his work? Work, for some, is the ends to a mean. They need to work so that they can survive. For some, it's a luxury. They just need to work to remain busy. For some, they don't know anything better. And for some, they don't work at all. So who's right, who's wrong? In my opinion, everyone is right and everyone is wrong. But according to the human aspect of behavior, culturally, work has its own definition. Definition of work culturally comes from the time that the sun rises to the time that the sun sets. So it depends where you are from the equator. If your sunrise and sunset is on a short day, then your work is a short day. But if your sunrise to a sunset is on a long day, then your work can be a long day. Of course, the work can also be related with the type of work that you're doing, related to working on the road, related to working on any manual kind of work. It could also be related to manual work, not outdoors but indoors, like in making a painting and getting inspiration as you're in the process of painting it. But what is most important is the process of work. The process of work involves your belief and what you believe in. You have to believe in your work, not because it gets you a salary. You have to believe that what you're doing is going to make you happy. So work is one of the most essential tools to be able to make you happy. Those people who don't work are very unhappy because they have a lot of time and they don't know what to do with that time. So work is a very important medium that fills in your blank space, that enables you to think, to use not only your hands and limbs, but also to use your intellect, to use your thoughts, to be able to guide you through the process of being able to find your satisfaction. In this process, you have to deal with people who are with you at work. You have to deal with your boss. You have to deal with people who are below you. You have to even deal with the situation of competition. You have to also think of the growth of yourself in this job, and also what do you see the future of your company. because technology is changing things so fast that today what you're working for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years may become so obsolete in the next 5 years that no one needs a person like you anymore, because a machine in the hand can do exactly what you've been doing on a desk for 20 years. But in my opinion, I think that whatever it is, however long it is, and wherever it is, it should get you happiness, number one. Number two, you should feel a sense of satisfaction. And number three, you should be learning something in the process. When you work, you teach yourself. When you work, you learn what are the risks and what are the rewards, and how to avoid those risks and how to get your rewards. When you learn how to do that for yourself, you learn how to do that for your company, you learn how to do that for your boss. Not many people like their bosses, and not many bosses like their people. They only like their work. Very seldom do the boss like their people, because very seldom does the boss see anything but the work. But behind this work are the people who created it. So work is only defined by people. It's not defined by a materialistic or just by the fact that it's an assignment that has been achieved, but it is the influence of people and the collective thinking, the collective organized way of getting to the same thing in the most effective and efficient way. Work in different societies is done in a different way. Long time ago, the minister of Japan came to India, the industries minister, to see our factories, and he went back to Japan, and he invited the Indian minister to visit Japan. And when he visited Japan, he took him to the Toyota factory, and instead of having him stand at the assembly line, he had him stand at the gate of the factory and said, "Do you have a watch?" And he said, "Yes, I have an HMT watch." He said, "See, every 1 minute you'll see a new Toyota coming out of the factory." It was so amazing for him. When he came back, he was amazed, and he invited the Japanese ambassador and the Japanese industries minister, and he took him to Calcutta, to the plant that was manufacturing the ambassador. And what he saw over there was one worker was going in one direction, another worker was going in another direction. They were trying to screw one screw, it wasn't working, so they're hammering it in. They were all trying to share the same tools. Half of them were playing cards, 4 of them were not even working and taking tea breaks. It was completely in a mess and disorganized. So they finished this and they were going back to the hotel. So he asked him, that minister, what is your comments? You've seen this factory. What do you say? This is the largest car factory in India. And he said, I have only one comment, that in Japan we have one manager who takes care of 100 people. Here we need 100 people to take care of 2 people to do one job in India. Why is that? Why are the work ethics in one country so different as the work ethics in a different country? It has a lot to do with our culture, it has a lot to do with our diet, it has a lot to do with our climate. For example, In Italy, no matter what happens, there is a siesta time when you have to close down. In the Middle East also, in summer, when it's very hot in summer, you have to close down and stop production. So culturally it makes a big difference. Diet wise also it makes a very big difference. If you're eating more carbohydrates, you're not in a position after lunch to perform. But this is at factory level. When you turn it around to China, for example, and you talk about China, I went to the largest manufacturer of air conditioning compressors called GRI in China. It's a 15-story high building. And same thing. The plant starts on the top floor and the conveyor belt keeps bringing the machines down. And as the machines are moving, they're working on it. And then as the time goes by, the air conditioners come out of the building and get loaded onto the truck. Every employee over there comes on a cycle. No one comes in a car. Every employee sits at his designated place along the conveyor belt. Every employee is given rice and fish in a bowl at lunchtime and has 10 minutes to eat it. And all the machinery is working all the time and the air conditioners are moving all the time. From the 15th floor down to the bay where they're being loaded onto the trucks. There's not one employee who can afford to delay the production. Because if he does delay the production or if he does anything that goes wrong, there is going to be a mess up all the way down 15 floors. And at the same time, they have quality inspection going on along each floor for each conveyor belt. But when they come out in the evening, they ride their cycles and they go home. They barely get much money in terms of salary. They get a lot of satisfaction. They get immense satisfaction because they feel that they have done something for their country. They feel that they have done something in production for their country. So it's not about yourself, it's also about your country. The same thing applies to Mercedes-Benz, to BMW, to any German car manufacturer. They feel that this is a national pride. Our grandparents have spent, forefathers have spent so much money and time in creating this, and we just cannot destroy this for anything. Of course, they've gone robotic, they have all the processing going on, but still, that individual pride slowly adds up as a chain reaction and makes the company a very proud company. And then one proud company, second proud company, third proud company, then the region becomes very proud and industrial. And then the country gets into an area where they say this region of our country is really very good because we have the best abilities of manufacturing. So work ethics is all about your own ethics. Work ethics is not about what you give to your boss. It's not about what your boss gives to you. It's not only about what you give to your country or to your company. It's all about how happy you feel after your work, how satisfied you feel after your work. You could be working 30 years in a company and you could not be enjoying it from the first day for all the 30 days that you have worked. But believe me, you can work 2 days in a company and you could be the most happiest person. It all depends on you, what brings you happiness and what you want. But to get happiness in a company, you have to first learn to give to that company. You have to first learn to give before you desire to get. In a company, every company expects something from an employee. Otherwise, you won't be hired in that company. The main thing is to make sure that the risk which is there involved in the company is taken care of. Simply, whatever your job is, the risk must be taken care of at all levels, whether it's a secretary, whether it's even a watchman, or whatever it is. The risk must be taken care of. And to measure risk, you should be able to measure risk, because only when you can measure risk can you take care of it. This comes through experience. This comes through hierarchy. Once you learn to obey your seniors who have more experience and who have more ability to be able to express their experience and their views to you, only then are you in a position to be able to you're in a position to be able to manage risk. Managing risk is extremely important. We all do that. You all do that for your boss. People say we try to make him happy. It's not about making your boss happy. It's not about meeting his expectations. It's about managing the risk. The moment you start making him happy, then you start learning how to meet his expectations, and then you learn how to manage his risk. In the process, you are growing up in the company, and the company is growing with you. So, work ethics works both ways. It works from the boss downwards and from the bottom upwards. Management works two ways, top down and bottoms up. Bottoms up, we have a complete different philosophy, and top down, we have a different philosophy. It depends how many employees there are, and it also depends how many people are managing them. One human being can only manage 7 employees to the best. Then they need to further enhance 7 more. So beyond 7 employees, the human brain cannot manage, multitask beyond 7 employees at a time. The maximum it can do is 7. So to work efficiently is one thing, but to work effectively is another thing. To work effectively, you have to make sure that you are able to control the situation across the board, whether it is vertical, whether it is horizontal, or whether it's diagonal. You have to be able to see that you are in a position to handle this across the board. And this only comes if you have the right number of people who are working for you at the right number of levels. Sometimes you have too many bosses, you have too many levels in between. Sometimes you're understaffed, sometimes you're overstaffed. But to get the maximum effect out of people, it's an art. And to get people to work for you is an art also. To understand that, you have to understand the people, you have to understand their abilities and capabilities. You have to understand what their weaknesses are, individually and collectively, and how you can handle them individually and collectively. Most bosses isolate weakness. When you isolate weakness, you only make it more weak. But if you address it collectively, you give it strength. By isolating weakness, you are only making it more weak. But when you put it together with other people's weakness, you're giving it strength to recover faster. People have the ability always to work better in groups than as individuals. People work together in a team spirit better. So work ethics is definitely about team playing. It's definitely about understanding that you all have to work together. But to understand that, you have to have a few things clear. One is the hierarchy. Who is reporting to whom? Who is the boss? Who is the next boss? What's the hierarchy in it? So that's as far as the team spirit is concerned. Then on the other side of that, you also have to look at the aspect of seeing some exceptional employees are there, but that doesn't mean you overlook the ones who are not exceptional. You also have to give them a chance to become exceptional. Don't think that people who live in the shadow don't grow. Actually, the ones who live in the shadow have more growth potential than the ones who are in the sun. Because the ones who are in the sun can burn out faster than the ones who are in the shadow. The ones who are in the shadow have more chance of growth than the ones who are in the sun. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you.